So my name's Chad Delisle. I am the VP of Marketing at Disruptive Advertising. I have just hit my 10-year mark at Disruptive, but it is the fourth digital marketing agency that I've worked at going back to 2007. So I've been in the game for a long time, and I tell people that I am frequently stressed, but never bored. And that's one of the things I love about marketing. So excited to
Yeah.
be here.
Wow. So it's 2007.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were like
Sir.
five.
I've got a baby face. I'm 40 years old. Believe it or not. I'm 3 years old. I've got a baby face. I've got four kids. My oldest is a 13-year-old. I'm living life over here. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I turned 40 last May, so I'm
Cool.
with
Right
you.
on. Yeah.
You have to send me your skincare routine.
The fountain of youth. I'll show you where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing. So, 2007, you get into digital marketing. How did you find yourself focused on that area?
It was fully a means to an end, my friend. I was going to college at the time. I was newly married. I had set my sights on being an English professor. I wanted to teach Lord of the Rings and Tolkien in a college environment. That was the thing that was calling to
Right.
me. And I needed a job. And so I got a job in a call center for a marketing agency called My eBiz. And my first job was just answering the phones and talking to very angry business owners and marketing leaders who weren't getting the results that they wanted. And it turns out I was good at it. And what I mean good at it, I mean good at talking to people who were really angry and helping them feel seen and heard. And eventually I was grateful for leaders at that company who were like, hey, you have some soft skills that are hard to train. Why don't we also just train you how to do marketing and give you a more important role in the company? And so they started to teach me the game of marketing, and it ended up my career pivoted. I didn't end up going on to like postgraduate work and moving towards an English professorship because by the time I graduated my undergrad, I had moved up and advanced so much in my marketing career. I was making great money. I was thinking, why would I go into more debt and move my family to go and pursue a doctorate where I'm going to make less money probably than I'm making now in marketing? And so it just felt like the writing was on the wall, and I was having fun, and so I just kept with it.
Hmm. Nice, nice. So what aspects of marketing did you focus on initially?
Well, back in the day, it was a lot of still PPC, right? So still paid search that was relevant, but there was a lot of e-commerce drop shipping type stuff going on. So for the first several years of my career, I was helping clients set up their own e-commerce websites and find very micro verticals or niches that they could corner and just make good money online with a little website. I remember I had a client whose whole website was just selling katanas, right? Just selling swords. And they would just found a supplier overseas, and they, connected things up and started to rank with some good content for keywords and just started making money. But this was, during the rise of Amazon. So Amazon hadn't really cornered everything yet, and all of the other e-commerce monsters, the Walmarts and the Targets and everything else hadn't really risen yet online. And so there was still room for individuals to drop ten to $20,000 into a drop shipping website and actually turn it into a profitable business pretty quickly.
Wow, wow. That model doesn't work anymore these days, I'm guessing.
It can. It's just a little bit trickier, right? Like
Yeah.
the space is so flooded with these monsters that can beat everybody on price, right?
Mm.
So the Temu and the Amazon and all of the, this global economy that we've got now, it's just a different kind of thing because likely the drop shipping that you're going to pay and all of the fees, you can't beat the efficiencies that these big organizations are able to create. And so you're just never going to get your cost of goods down, to those levels. So, I mean, prove me wrong, people. You might be, there's some angle on it that somebody has thought of that probably works.
Yeah,
I just don't see it working in the same way as it used to, you know.
yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
Mhm.
So how did your skill set evolve and grow as the years went on? And it sounds like you jumped to different organizations as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of it is just the nature of the beast. Like with marketing, if you're not evolving, you're kind of dying. You're
Oh yeah.
going obsolete, which is kind of crazy. I think that it's not an industry for everybody because of that, because the things I'm doing today in my job are different even than the things I was doing a year ago in my job. And it's just because of how AI has, arrived on the scene and is rapidly challenging us to do different things and evolve our skills and try different stuff. So going back though to just the evolution of my skill sets, everywhere I went, I was grateful for leaders and mentors who rewarded my curiosity. I showed up with a work ethic and with questions and just said, look, I want to get good at this. I want to understand it. Teach me, if it is a game, I had an early leader who told me it was like a board game, like digital marketing is a board game and you can learn the rules of the game. And so if digital marketing is like Settlers of Catan, then teach me the rules so I can get really good at this and try to win, give you, because there's strategy within that. And so anyway, I spent time, initially it was, okay, I want to learn not just paid search and e-commerce, but I also want to learn SEO and like, how does that work? And then I want to learn how to do social media marketing. And so I started getting into all of those things. And eventually, like, I interviewed for a job to just be a paid search strategist, basically a paid search implementer at a digital marketing agency called Orange Soda. And I remember in the interview, the the hiring manager said, Chad, we are not going to hire you to be a PPC digital strategist. And I remember my jaw hit the floor because I thought, I just killed this interview and I'm super experienced. I've been doing this at that time. I'd been doing it for, 6 or 7 years or something. And he was like, I'm going to go get a different leader in here and bring him in because we're actually hiring for account managers and your people skills. We've got to have you talking to our clients. You know what I mean? So he like went and got some other guy who was in the marketplace looking for account managers, and I did an interview again back to back, and then I got hired on the spot there and got to start working with them. And it was great. The thing that was awesome about shifting from being just a strategist into account management is I suddenly got to move up to a position of seeing and managing more of the funnel rather than just being pigeonholed into a specific aspect of it. I
Hmm.
just got to see how they connect and how they flow and how each stage builds on the next and how you actually create a customer journey or a buyer journey that's compelling and leads to the outcomes that you care most about. And so eventually, I was able to work with hundreds of accounts and clients there, which was cool because I just got to learn so many different businesses and business types. They were pretty SMB. And that SMB skill set translated to me moving to disruptive advertising, where at the time they were, in 2015, they'd been around for a couple years and they were growing really fast and they wanted to really kick in the door for their SMB size of clients. And so I came, to an interview and had lots of SMB experience and was able to get a job there and kind of kick off their SMB department and got after it. And so the thing that was cool about that is then over the next handful of years at Disruptive, I just really got to work with hundreds of more of businesses. And so I've marketed so many things and it's cool to have had all that experience. And so it's interesting when people sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll say like, "Oh, did you go to school for marketing? Was that your emphasis?" And I'm like, "No, I'm an English major and that's what I graduated with." Like, but I went to the school of experience for marketing. I worked in all of these agencies. I worked with hundreds of businesses. I eventually was, promoted to be team leads and directors, and then eventually a VP. And now I'm at Disruptive, and I sit on the executive team. 10 years into my journey with Disruptive, and I feel like a Cinderella story in a lot of ways because it's crazy to me to be in a position where I came on at a company as an individual contributor and am now in the executive team. Like I don't think that's really normal. Maybe for our parents' generation, that was like maybe more of the thing that would happen. You'd kind of climb the corporate ladder at one place. But it feels like, at least from my perspective, especially with my colleagues that I've grown to know over the years, you have to like move companies to move up. It seems like you don't usually move up at a specific company, and that's just not been my experience at Disruptive.
Hmm. Well, they clearly like knew they had something special with you, so they're not gonna let you go.
Well, I felt like I had something special with them too, and so
Yeah,
it's been a good match for us. I
yeah.
call it fertile soil. It's a place where I've continued to grow personally, professionally, and financially. And so it
Mhm.
continues to be a place that makes me want to stay. They've made it very hard for me to want to go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I love your career trajectory starting off as like maybe like a specialist and then learning a bunch of different specialties and then project manager, so you're managing a bunch of specialties
Mhm.
or specialists, and now you're VP of marketing, you're managing a bunch of project managers and
Mhm.
managed specialists.
Yeah.
So it's like how how do you manage that? You're managing the managers of marketers. How do you I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it seems
It's a
like
good
a lot.
question. It's a good question. I'll give you two answers or two parts to this answer. One is I hire people that are strong where I'm not, which
Hmm.
requires a deal of self-awareness. And so being aware about the areas where I'm going to show up strong and show up well and be able to drive great impact is good. And it's also good for me to know where I'm just not going to do that. And so when I hire, I usually go in with a very specific uh, personality type I'm looking for, working style I'm looking for, because of the fact that I want to find complementary team members to help balance me out and balance out our team. So that's one side of it. The other side is trusting and empowering the people that I work with to get the job done, right? My job is to set like the what needs to be done, and maybe even some of the why, like why are we doing this? What needs to be done and why? But I've got to hire people that can handle the how. And I think that's what people tend to want is like, give me, when you come into a role, you want some autonomy and you want to feel trusted and empowered by a leader, not micromanaged, and babysat by a leader. And so I think there's just real power in developing people and paying the price up front to sit alongside someone and teach them how to do something at a level that you feel comfortable with until they can do it well, and then just letting them do it, step back and let them go. And it changes the dynamic of the relationship too, so that when I show up in one-on-ones and quarterly reviews, I can show up as a collaborator with them to work on the problems that they have together, find out where they're stuck, challenge them in areas I could see that they could continue to grow. But it's not, I don't have to show up as like a babysitter or somebody who's trying to do all of their work, like I need to find, as a leader, you have to find people you can trust to do the work that you can delegate. Otherwise, you won't be able to scale yourself or scale your department.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So as far as disruptive goes, do you all focus on any specific types of businesses or niches, or like who do y'all serve?
Yeah, absolutely. So our sweet spot is businesses that are doing between 3 million and 25 million of annual recurring revenue. So they're not businesses that don't have a spark going yet. They've already got a little bit of a fire started, and we just help pour gasoline on it and blow that up for them. But we're also looking for businesses who really want to marry purpose with performance. And that's very important to us. This idea that, and our belief is that you get better performance when it's backed by purpose, when you're actually creating outcomes in the world that are meaningful to you, to your employees, and to the customers that you serve. So that's a thing that is very important to us. I think the other thing I would say is that we are a performance marketing shop. So we're not going to, there are some things that we just don't do. The main things that we service or provide for our customers are paid search, paid social, SEO, Amazon, and email and text message like lifecycle marketing. So those are like the main things that we provide. We have a full creative teams and full development teams that can help with all of the things that go into each of those five main services. But those are the main ones we do. Then in terms of niches, we service e-commerce clients, B2B clients, B2C local and B2C national clients, but we do have some micro niches that we just really do well in. One of those is garage door companies. So
Mhm.
garage door companies, we are one of our very oldest clients. We've had them for over 11 years is A Plus Garage Doors, and they are a multi-state garage door company doing amazing work. And they came to us as a single, owner who was working out of their garage, like in the very beginning. And so it's cool over 11 plus years to see, their journey and help blow them up to a place where they have this huge team and multi-state, presence. Another one that's a huge industry for us is B2B SaaS, right? So we work with B2B SaaS providers that have come up with these cool enterprise solutions for big companies, that need them. And we just have figured it out. It's like a hard B2B marketing is kind of a beast. It's a little bit more involved and there's more to the funnel. And this is going to offend every e-commerce marketer out there because they're going to hear me say this and hear me saying like, well, e-commerce marketing is easier. And I'm sorry, it is. I think e-commerce marketing is easier than B2B. And so because B2B marketing is a little more involved, there are more steps in that funnel that you have to stay connected with and all those different things. And there are fewer solutions out there that are just end-to-end B2B lead gen type solutions. I just feel like it's an area where we really can come in and shine, especially for those small teams, because usually B2B SaaS companies are small. They're tight groups of individuals. It could be 10 employees even, but we can come in and kind of serve as their marketing arm and really help them to connect with those companies that they're looking for.
Mhm. Nice. So how do you find clients?
We find clients in a lot of different ways. I would say, inbound has been a bread and butter for us for a long time. Our reputation is so awesome, that being able to lean on the hundreds and, probably over 1,000 reviews that we've got, the awards we've won, all of those kinds of things just help us to really show up. One area we've seen in the last year really pick up for us from new client acquisition is just ChatGPT. ChatGPT loves us and has been sending us clients very frequently. We get traffic every
Wow.
day from ChatGPT, which is awesome. So we love that. Other ways that we find clients is through, of course, referrals, um, and trying to create a good enough experience with our existing clients that they feel they can trust us with, their friends and their colleagues and people that they know.
Mhm.
We have some outbounding ABM type stuff, targeted lists that we like to go after, but that's been less of a focus for us. I think that we probably want to put our pedal to the metal on that in 2026 as we come into the new year. So that'll be fun. Um, and then in our space, a big player in our space is just sponsored listings. When somebody searches best PPC agencies in the United States or, best PPC agencies, it's not going to usually show up with that, on Google, the top 10 results that are PPC agencies. It's going to show up with a list saying here are the top 20 or 30 or whatever. And so getting into those positions with sponsored listings has been valuable, but it's also become a really flooded and expensive marketplace. So it's a tough place to continue to win because the costs just keep going up because everybody's doing it, now trying to get onto those lists. And so creating good content, trying to show up at the top of the funnel, it's just classic marketing, making sure
Yes.
every area we're showing up and we're connecting with the pain points that matter most to our target ICP, and we're showing to the right audiences and not the wrong, and retargeting and all those things. So it's
Yeah.
it's a whole thing, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a unique role. You're VP of marketing for a marketing agency. Uh,
Yeah.
so me, I've been on my own out in the cold for the last since 2011, so 14 years. So does that mean you're both the sort of the marketing lead for how you perform marketing for your clients and for Disruptive?
Mm.
Or is there
Great
some sort of
question. Yeah.
delineation?
No, great question. So I'm kind of the tip of the spear when it comes to figuring out how to market in the current environment. So I'm out there adapting, trying new things, innovating and iterating with my leadership team and trying to just figure out, okay, what is working right now? And then I do tend to share those learnings then and push those into the agency so that we can improve how we're doing our marketing for our clients. Now, it's actually like kind of a hard seat to be in, the marketing leader at a marketing agency, because everybody has an opinion about how the marketing should be done. And so I have found that in this seat, I have got to practice a lot of patience and humility, and I've got to be okay with scrutiny and with people feeling very strongly about how I'm doing it and feeling like it could be done a different way. So trying to balance the energy of being open so that I can receive good insights and feedback, but also sticking to my guns when I feel like I should, and holding on to my confidence in the face of people feeling, strongly about things. So yeah, I say all of it with love. It's just it's an interesting, it's kind of like being a chef, and being like a really good chef, but you're in a room with other, fantastic chefs. And so when you make any dish, they're going to have critique for you, whether, you want it or not. There's just going to have critique. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you definitely have the track record to take your advice, I would say.
sure, sure. Yeah.
Um, yeah, awesome. Well, Chad, this is awesome. We're coming towards the end of our time together. I have one final question for you.
Right.
It is an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction you like, personal, professional, both. You
Sure.
can answer it multiple ways, long, short, big, small.
Mhm.
It is the name of the show. The question is, what are you working towards?
Mm. What am I working towards? Hmm. I feel like there's a couple of things that I'm working towards. One is at Disruptive Advertising, we are going to be $100 million agency. And I am a part of that journey. And the thing that I am working towards is not focusing too much on that destination and instead focusing on enjoying all the problems we get to solve between now and then and enjoying that journey and embracing all that it has to teach me. There's just going to be so much to learn and figure out and conquer. But I believe when I arrive, because it will happen, when I arrive at that location, it will be one of my proudest professional achievements, I'm sure, to be a part of that and to have made that impact. And the impact that hitting that revenue actually means in the world, right? The purpose that we've been able to drive. So there's that side. The other side is more on the personal side, which is just, I'm creating and launching my own brand, my own TTRPG actual play podcast called Heroic Ground. I get together with my friends every other week and we play Dungeons and Dragons together. I'm the dungeon master, and we've been doing this since, I mean, I've been dungeon mastering since I was 12. So I was in 1997. So I have even more experience on that side of the things. But it's a podcast that we launched last December. We're coming up on our year mark, and we've gained great traction and visibility. And I can see that as being the place that I spend the back half of my life is in creating that show with my friends and enjoying the journey that creates and freedom that creates for our families. So I'm really excited about that as well.
Awesome, awesome. That's great to hear you're pursuing, creative passions as well.
For sure.
I align with that big time. Well, Chad, well, thank you so much. Where can my audience find out more about you and Disruptive?
Yeah, so disruptiveadvertising.com is a great place. You can go and check things out. You can find me, Chad Delisle, on LinkedIn. You can find Heroic Ground as well really easily. If you just search Heroic Ground podcast anywhere on any podcast platform, you'll find us. And
Yeah.
if you have any questions for me directly, please reach out. Be happy to talk to you. Chad at disruptiveadvertising.com.
All right. Awesome. We'll link all those in the show notes. Chad, thank you so much, man. You're the real deal. I really appreciate
Hey,
you taking the time.
appreciate it, Chris. We'll talk again soon. Take
All
care.
right. Awesome. To all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and keep on growing out there, everybody.